Hello everyone, welcome to the 156th Spiritual Brainstorm. Today I'm addressing you from the Belgian coastline. The first day where we have some sun. We had terrible weather for the last month while Greece and Spain were cooking, so crazy times. Today I wanted to talk about, a very short video hopefully, about how saving yourself means saving everybody else. And it has to do with 5D, Ascension, all of these kind of themes. But there's this counterintuitive thing of, okay, if I only save myself, it's a selfish act. I'm saving nobody by only taking care of myself. But as a matter of fact, when you save yourself, you simultaneously save 8 billion copies of all the people on the planet. So it's as if every single person on this planet carries with him, well, first of all, they're in their own kind of version of reality, their own version of planet Earth, their own version of even the universe. But it just so happens that they've created a kind of a, how should I say, like a bond, like a link with other people to pretend like they're seeing the same reality. And obviously, in the physical sense, that kind of bond or the link is very strong. That is, if I were to count the number of rocks on the sand, I would, count, and you would count, and we'd arrive at the same exact point. But in terms of how we feel about reality and our versions of reality, there it differs quite substantially. Like I could, for instance, feel that I live in a world that's completely crazy, out of whack, where everything is going wrong and all that stuff. And I could have a tailored experience where every time I go out in the street, I get mugged. My car breaks down all the time. I have all kinds of terrible things happening to me all the time. And my next door neighbor could think he's living in paradise and only good things happen to him, and every time he goes outside somebody's nice to him and smiles, and so in that sense, we all live in our own kind of version of reality, of planet Earth, of the universe. And so when you save yourself, you save all of the people that live in your version of reality. And so it's as if you save one over 8 billion part of humanity. And everybody has to save themselves. And by saving themselves, they save the version of you that exists in their reality. So me, for instance, I exist, there are 8 billion versions of myself. And I can only save my version, of course, because I'm in the center of it. And everybody else has a copy of myself in their reality. And it's their job to save that copy. I cannot save that copy for them. I can only manage myself. And when millions and millions of people save themselves simultaneously, it's this idea of the consensus reality, or forming this link. And that's what Ascension looks like. It's when millions and millions of people together decide to save themselves and bring along the 8 billion versions of all the other people on the planet. It kind of forms like almost like a tunnel or something, like a bridge between two dimensions that opens up and allows for the ascension of physicality, basically, physical matter. And that is not something that is, trivial. It's something that is absolutely magical, because if you take people like Buddha or Jesus, these people, they've saved themselves, and they saved all of the versions of all the people on the planet simultaneously, but only a tiny fraction, obviously. But they didn't live that as a collective experience. They lived it as a solitary, how should I say, like individual experience. That is, nobody ascended with them, along with them. Nobody went into the clouds with Jesus and ascended into paradise along with him, saying, oh, I'm going to follow you in that kind of experience. or the Buddha, or any of them. And when one person ascends, when only one person ascends, it's not enough to create that bridge and that seamless experience of sucking up physicality into, the spiritual realm or the world of ideas, the immaterial realm. I prefer to say immaterial. I think it's a more adequate term than spiritual, because spiritual is so there's so many connotations around that. So they can't really bring that much matter with them. And I think that matter, in a way, from the perspective of the spiritual realm or the immaterial realm, is like more precious than gold, more precious than latinum in Star Trek. This thing that is irreplicable. Because matter has these properties of space-time, of linearity, of all of these rules, all of these binding, causality-driven, cause and effect, and all of that stuff. It's just so precious as an experience. So it's, I like how to describe it. It's really very hard. Imagine you're like this infinite being that can have any experience. They just have to think about it, and it happens. And they get bored and tired of it. And somebody brings them this very precious thing where no matter how hard they try, they can't just think about anything into existence. They have to make a real effort, and it's really taking them time and whatever. It's like this. It's almost as if you were playing Candy Crush in cheat mode all your life, and you only received these stars and feedbacks, and everything is great and whatever, and you're bored to death because it's just so easy. And then somebody invents this brilliant video game like this, super where you actually have to make an effort to do something, to achieve something. And it's not just like swipe and it's done and you have like 10 million stars and 1 million points and everything goes, congratulations or whatever. And there you start experiencing, thanks to that video game and the friction involved, a totally new array of feelings associated with that you would never have felt before, because there was just no opportunity for feeling them. In our reality, it's like a permanent fireworks of emotions that are unheard of in the immaterial realm, because there's just no opportunity to experience them. And so I've already given this example of, it's almost as if the spiritual realm is waiting for their super advanced haptic suits for having, the same kinds of feelings, sensations, and they're like, wow, this is all the buzz, and everything is like, wow, almost like waiting for the next iPhone, but even more exciting, like it's just gonna have so many features, amazing features, whatever. And that's what we're doing as humans from that perspective, from that realm. It's like we are making physicality and matter with its core properties of, how should I say, it's almost like it's something that has a root that goes all the way down to nothingness, that's rooted in nothingness, and has all of the linearity and causality up to here, like up to us, as an uninterrupted chain, where that physicality, that matter, is grounded in the story of the universe since the beginning, basically, or this reality since the beginning. And that's so precious. It's not something that you can just, like, if it's not ripe, it's not, it's like pulling a carrot out of the ground before it's fully grown. There's nothing there to eat, So we here as humans, our role is almost to, like, how can I say, to create a bridge or a hole or a tunnel between two dimensions, the material and the immaterial, and to bring or raise, as much matter as we can through that tunnel upwards. And then that gets kind of, I don't know, harvested, I guess, in a way. It's one way to put it, by the spiritual realm. But of course, there's no separation. So it's you're bringing that to yourself. You're bringing that ascension to your higher self as almost like you're fusing two versions of yourself together, like your higher self and yourself, your physical self, and they become, it's not like now where your higher self is like sending you messages that you receive as intuitions and stuff and whatever. Here it's like a real fusion of those two things, and at that point it really becomes magical. And so that's what we're trying to do now, because if 8 billion people did that individually, like Christ or like Buddha, then you can't make matter ascend. You can only bring a tiny little bit of matter there, and that's like, okay, wow, right, great. It's like pulling a carrot, and it's like tiny, and it's like one bite, and it's over. Whereas when 8 billion people, or at least a couple of, like 100 million or more people do it together simultaneously, they each decide to save themselves individually and descend, then if they do it simultaneously, they can create that kind of portal or that bridge and suck up a lot of matter, maybe this entire planet actually, into a higher dimension, where you keep physicality, but you create a kind of an overlay of it's now residing entirely in a new dimension. So it's like billions of single cellular organisms that are living in a swamp that have a certain experience there in that swamp that is very limited, because all they know is survival, fighting for survival, limitations of, not enough resources, all that stuff. And they ascend, which is short for saying they form a global collective organism together. And by doing so, they actually almost like spiritualize or raise into a higher dimension part of that swamp. Because realize that in your own body you have plenty of things. You have fluids, you have bones, you have plenty of stuff that is not necessarily alive in the same way as a human cell is. So it's as if you took, to make your body, you took like some dirt along with your body, and that dirt now resides, because it's in your body, resides in a dimension of its own. Because the dirt that is outside of my body, right, it cannot dance, it cannot do all these kind of crazy things that I'm doing as a human. It cannot, go to the movies, it cannot walk around. It's just there, right? But because it's part of my body, it's almost as I've made the dirt, the physicality, ascend into a higher dimension, which is this human envelope, and make it, ascend basically into a higher dimension. And so when 8 billion people form a global collective organism, it's as if they form a kind of, I call it a psychic skin around Earth, where now you finally have access to, fourth or fifth dimension experiences, which are translated into third dimensional experiences via the Earth's magnetic field, basically. And that, takes the form of magic or whatever you want to call it. It's like this awesome, crazy experience of almost like living in a movie or a Star Trek, episodes. But you still have your physicality and all of that stuff, because that's what makes it cool, is keeping these super advanced haptic suits for having all these super advanced emotions, but bringing in fourth or fifth dimension experiences which are atemporal, and suddenly you can do things that you could not even think of or envisage in your three-dimensional realm when you're still in the state of separation. Just like basically individual unicellular organisms in the swamp would never be able to imagine crawling out of the swamp and roaming around in the world. So that's what I wanted to say. So basically, there's no selfishness in taking care of yourself in your own kind of ascension. Obviously, you have to do it with the right intention, which is that you're bringing the 8 billion people that reside in your reality with you. So if you're still like struggling with the outside and still busy judging, that's the whole point. Like, when we're talking about like the Buddha saying we should stop judgment and all that stuff and love and all that stuff, it's because By saving yourself, you're taking the 8 billion people, the copies of those 8 billion people, along with you. And that is the Trumps, the Bidens, the everyone, like the Hitlers. Yeah, I mean, just every single one of them. That version of them gets a lot, like, is coming for the ride, because ultimately they are you. They are you as well, and you are them. And so it's that whole thing where you really have to be at peace with that idea. And so, it's not a small feat to do that. It's something that really takes a lot of, I wouldn't say work. It's not work. It's something else. But I think you get the idea. So I hope you like this episode. Don't forget to send me some videos you'd like me to comment on, because sometimes I'm out of ideas, or I just don't think of commenting on videos. I don't know what you're interested in, so let me know. And hope you like this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, the usual. And talk to you in the next episode. Bye, guys.